Thanks a lot, everyone, for coming here. Thanks for that introduction. And yeah, I just felt quite inspired as well. I'm glad I didn't feel I didn't find that introduction a bit daunting. I was just like, kind of, yes, that's right. So yes, I have taken, I think it was the blue pill, but I can't be sure. I've taken the blue pill to see reality. Well, a lot of things is blue because we wear blue, so a lot of things there was the blue pill. So there is generally in these talks, I don't know what you expect, but you might want to hear what happens in an ordination retreat and how is it like, and what happens if it's special, what kind of experiences I had. And obviously if you've been on a retreat, even if it's for a weekend and someone asks you how was it, it's quite difficult to pin down our experience for a weekend or a week. So try to do it of a few months. It's just not going to happen. So I'm not going to even attempt to tell you the retreat. But as Priyavadita mentioned, there's a few things that happened that maybe are particularly special on the retreat, where it's an ordination retreat. And with the ordination, you take quite a few things, well, like the vows, the ordination vows. You take a new name, you take 10 precepts, and you take a sadhana as well. The visualization. I cannot say it now. Visualization. No, I can't. It's a dyslexia night. I'm not going to try now. It's impossible. Maybe later will come. So I just decided to pick on one theme, which actually has a lot of happen around this theme, which is the new name, which is probably the most appropriate, because as well, in a way, I think for me this is the best context to try to introduce myself, which makes it quite a personal talk. It's not just because it's like about me, but it feels like I'll try to, it's quite close to me, so I'll try to, so yeah, I'm gonna be nervous, I suppose, because it's something very dear to me. It's what I am, what I'll try to be, what inspires me, and hopefully you'll take it with kindness and receptivity, whatever I'll say. So it feels kind of quite intimate but important. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to just say it. So I forgot I wanted to talk about this, and I was reading my notes earlier, and it said taking a new name into a new life. So that's what I'm going to talk about. So I wanted to reflect a bit about why taking a new name. Recently, a friend on Facebook was debating about. I think someone got frustrated about using the label of being a Buddhist or just using labels. So he was saying that, because even the Buddha would, if you try to go beyond self and beyond identity, what would you take identities? But so that this could so easily it could alienate ourselves from what we are, what we already are, and what we could be. I think the Buddha talks a bit about that particular relationship, or their relationship back then in India with the caste system, just going beyond caste system. There you're born into a caste system, and that's it. And you're all just the place of your birth and your family of birth. It conditions so much of your life and your possibilities, your potentials, and what you can become. And so people ask about what's your caste system, and so they immediately lock you down into what you are. And I think we're not very much we're not very different from that in the West. We have like, you know, one of our first questions is like, oh, what do you do? So I wanna label to you in terms of your job. How much do you earn? What kind of what gym do you go to? What I don't know. What are your hobbies? Or like social class? No, what your kind of working class? What's your background? I'm trying to pin you down. Part of it is just very innocent, very practical, because it's very difficult to relate with each other in the full complexity of what we are. So in a way, it's quite easy to try to simplify things. But the problem with simplifying things is just kind of limits. It can limit us. So there's something there to say about taking an identity that is not about narrowing you down, but is with a purpose of something more. So when people would join the Buddhist order, they would become, when they become disciples of the Buddha, they would lose their caste system, and they would become like a son of the Buddha, which is some of the things that we're kind of going to hear about on the puja after this bit. So yeah, that's kind of what it means. It means being taking an identity that goes beyond self-clinging, self-narrowness, and to complete expansion and creativity. That enlightenment is, not that purely compassion and wisdom. But anyway, this, you know, that could be another whole talk, I suppose. So I just tell you how, and that's the spirit pretty much of how we take order names in our order. And we don't choose them, we got given them. And we got given them by our preceptor, who's the main player, if you want, on witnessing you as part of the order, is who welcomes you into the order. And because it's who sees more intimately, maybe, or who you are. In this case, who I am, or who I was, or what inspires me. And, you know, names are quite mixed, but often they have like, you get a description of what the person is like, what their abilities are. Or there could be something like a bit of a blind spot for them to bring them more alive. You know? To balance the practice, or it could be, you know, there's all sorts of names, they're very poetic names. And often as well, Priyavada said that you're a bodhisattva name almost. So it's something that you can, all the names they have a lot of beauty and virtue and skills, and there's something that you can always grow into. So it's not something that, it's not an identification of what you are, but as well as what you can become more so. Yeah. And particularly I want to talk about this because I've got a funny story, and if you've seen me on Facebook or my emails, you'll see that sometimes I've got a H there, or you'll see the name, if you've received my post in my community, you see that there's another name there, that's Hatthaka. So name's Hatthaka Sanghadhara. Sanghadhara is the name that my preceptor gave me, and it means upholder, holder, or supporter of the Sangha. And Sangha is the spiritual community, as well. That can be translated into three different things. Sangha as a society, as a group of people, or could be the Dharma practitioners, people who are going for refuge to the three jewels. They're practicing the Dharma and they aspire to Buddhahood. That's the Sangha. And it has the other level of the Arya Sangha, which are the enlightened Sangha, the already enlightened Sangha. So there's kind of, you see, it has these three dimensions, like the broader community, a society, their spiritual community, and the noble community. So I want to tell you a bit about how that name came to existence, and how it landed. And yeah. take some water. Being nervous makes the mouth very dry. So with this, I wanted to start with a story, and this is a story of Hatthaka the Alabi. Hatthaka the Alabi is a character that appears in the Pali Canon. The Pali Canon is the canonic text, Buddhist text, and I first encountered. I heard this name first time quite a few years ago in a talk by Arthur Priya, who's my Kalyana Mitra and president of this centre. And in this talk, it was a talk about the Sangha. Actually, it was a series of talks about the Sangha. And Arthur Priya talked about how Hatthaka the Alabi, who's I think a prince of Alabi, that becomes a disciple of the Buddha. And then the Buddha, he wanders around India, and when he comes back, he finds that Hatthaka, the Alabi, has created a Sangha around Alabi. And it's grown and it's very healthy. And the Buddha asks him, well, how did you do this? How do you grow and maintain a Sangha? And he communicates back the 4 Sangha-havastus, which is the means of unification or conversion into the Sangha. And when I heard the name in the context of the story, I just felt like my heart swollen and jumped, and I felt like, oh, that's me. One of the things as well was happening back then. I was finding the ordination process quite frustrating. I wanted to resign the process, but I know I couldn't actually give. That is not what I really wanted. I know I couldn't actually give my back to the 3 jewels. I didn't want to, and it was more than that. I just felt like I couldn't. Well, taking that metaphor, it felt like I'd taken the blue pill, and once you've taken the blue pill, you cannot. You cannot walk back. So I felt like. That I couldn't actually do it. But part of me just found it so frustrating and difficult that I just I so don't want to do this. I want to not want to do this. That's how I felt. So I tried to I even consciously tried to cultivate indifference to the ordination itself, which I managed, because it felt like actually it was distracting me for my deepening of my practice. So maybe ordination itself became a bit of too much of a focus of a refuge rather than the 3 jewels. Anyway, I could give a whole other story about that, but that would be my life story, I suppose. But in here, what then this story made for me is like the fact that Hatthaka the Alabi was a layman, I was a householder, but still was able to help the Buddha practice the Dharma and to grow the Sangha. With the 4 very simple and yet difficult things to exemplify, to do. I thought that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. It doesn't matter my position with the order. I just want to support. I just want to grow. I just want to give myself to the Sangha. So for a few years, and as I said, the order name really gets given by your preceptor. So immediately after my heart swollen and it said something like, that's me. Immediately my brain's like, oh no, you don't do that. That's not how the game goes. That's not the rules. That's not, nobody chooses their name. Whether to what point I choose it or not, but I don't know. I felt I kind of responded to the name. But for the next few years, actually, it gave me just focus. It gave me inspiration. At times, I remember just at difficult times, I just whisper this name Hatthaka, and it just give me energy of motives to just kind of carry on. And it became my focus of my idea of what I was about, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. So it doesn't matter how the ordination process was going or what was going, all the uncertain things were going on around my life. Hatthaka just kind of gave me inspiration and focus. So anyway, that's well interesting, just kind of how a name, you can take a name, or you can be taken by a name, and has an effect in my internal life. But I think as well I think for me, I mean, I never said it for a long time, but it just became how it gave me clarity on how I wanted to communicate about who I was. You know, I started saying, you know, I just want to support the Sangha. And like kind of I meant it, and I know where I was coming from, but I suppose by having Hatthaka, like, it given me direction. I was just like, yeah, this is what I'm doing, you know. Yeah. So yeah, it felt like kind of, it just kind of took hostage of my heart in a bit, but quite secretly. So, yeah, so it was just a secret source of inspiration, and actually I didn't say it, I didn't share this name even with my preceptor until like very late. I was invited to go on the retreat the previous year, but I didn't go for visa problems and blah, blah, blah. So my preceptor chose a name like a few years ago, and it was a very good name. So, but still, so I still kind of had kind of this Hatthaka in my heart, and I just, as a source of inspiration, but until some point actually he came to Manchester to visit me last year, and I guess I was hoping that he would just found this name in the Pali Canon. I don't know how he would have, but and he would say, "Oh yeah, this is Sanghadhara," and he would just give it to me. But I felt like that wasn't happening, so maybe he kind of needed to be more pointed. But the point that it actually happened, obviously he had a name, and it was a good name, so he didn't. I don't think he really. He listened to me. I didn't say like, oh, this name is very important to me, you know, it means a lot to me for this and this and this reason. I was trying to play it light. Because one of the things, you know, we talk about, you know, try to be, not have attachments and not being, you know, all these things. Mainly maybe not attachment, or not kind of, you don't want to direct your own precept. But at the same time, I'm also aware that name hasn't gone away, and it was a source of inspiration. And I felt like kind of wanted to share it with him, but at the same time, just like kind of, oh, well, you know, I just read this bit, and I think it's kind of great, and you should read it, and I'm quite inspired by this story, and that's it, no? So part as well, me trying to just kind of play it lightly. Actually, I just didn't want to take it very seriously, because I knew I wouldn't take that name. I wouldn't get given that name. So when so I said it, and early in the year, in a meeting with friends, I was with another friend who was joining the order as well, and we were playing around with possible names, and I don't know why. Well, then in this context, it was four of us, and one said, "Hatthaka, is Hatthaka a name?" I felt like suddenly I was like a little naked baby. That suddenly someone opened the closet kind of by accident or something. I was just like in this wardrobe or something, and I was just like. I was trying to play it light, but I felt kind of quite naked and vulnerable. I felt very weird. Very good friends of mine anyway. So I said something like, yes, that's, it is a name. In fact, that's kind of a name that I'm kind of hoping for. Isn't that silly of me? But I just left like, it just felt like, you know, it just felt weird. It just felt right to hear it, but it felt wrong as well. It just felt... and I remember then with that retreat finished, and one of them, when say goodbye, said like, "Oh, goodbye, Hatthaka." And I just felt like so right and so wrong, and it's just like, I just kind of shy and very... I felt like quite vulnerable. I think I felt quite vulnerable. But he felt like, it wasn't kind of quite ready. So anyway, like Priyavati mentioned, like we have this practice of the 6-element practice, which you basically just you're reflecting on letting go to it all. you're kind of getting ready to really take completely a new life. So for that, you want to get rid of, or just go beyond as much as you can, and just really be receptive to your sadhana, to your new name, to the precepts. To just, there's a lot of that. So as I was getting closer to the private ordination, was one of the things I was most concerned about. It was actually managing to completely be detached about Hatthaka, because I was sure I wasn't going to get that name. I was trying to just really let go and just being completely open and just focusing on the trust I had with Guhyaloka, my preceptor, and just kind of trying to be open and just kind of trying to let that name go in a way. I'm mostly as well because I didn't want to upset my preceptor. So I didn't want to upset him. I didn't want to upset myself as well. I didn't want to just kind of be like, oh, there's nothing in my want, I'd just be like that. And actually, even for a few years, people would tell me like, I think Sangha would be a great thing on your name, wouldn't it? And I would say things like, oh, I hope no. It's too obvious. It would be like calling me Mexican or something. I said, I hope you get something more poetic or something more. So in the private ordination, when I heard the name Sanghadhara, I remember just one of the things I was trying to focus on, not just kind of being completely open, but I said at the same time, in case I wasn't completely open and relaxed, at least I wanted to put a completely blank face. So if I would be disappointed, I wouldn't express it. So Guhyaloka wouldn't be, because it's a very nerve-wracking thing to do. That's why imagine giving a name to someone that you've been thinking about for years, and suddenly, I don't know, I don't like that name or something. So I didn't want to do that. So I was just kind of trying to be just kind of straight face and just like let my responses to happen later. So then he said Sanghadhara, and I just felt inside of me, just feeling like, of course that's me. I was just kind of like, obviously was a Sangha in my name. I felt, in me, I just kind of rolled my eyes back and I'm like, yeah, that I'm Sanghadhara, obviously. So I went back to the shrine, and I had a terrible night, because it meant that I felt like then I was trying to reason out Hatthaka from my heart. I just felt like having this conversation of like, well, thanks Hatthaka for your inspiration and support and encouragement and focus and for giving me light in my heart. But I felt like, the new tenant is here, the new owner of the house, actually. So just thanks, pack up your stuff. I think we've been doing a lot of sex element practice, so just off you go. No? And but I just felt, it wasn't until then, I just felt like, and that was quite painful, because then it felt like Hatthaka was just like taking ownership of my heart with that kind of golden coat, with a golden kind of coating half of my heart, and just with deep roots in my heart. And with my brain, I was just like no, I don't meant to have attachments. I don't, just let it go. And I just couldn't sleep the whole night, because I felt as soon as I would wake up, I don't remember my dreams very much. I think it was very, very active night. But every time I would become a bit more conscious, it just felt like my brain was just like up to kind of trying to reason out Hatthaka. I needed to resolve that out. And as well, I was sharing a room with Guhyaloka, my preceptor, so I couldn't, I was just there kind of at night, waking up, and just felt like in a battle. And one of the things that started happening is that Hatthaka, part of the heart, was just like saying like, no, I'm Sanghadhara. And my brain was like, yeah, of course you would say that, wouldn't you? Because, you're attached or something. I was just, yeah, I just felt like you've just been a rebel to a stubbornness. You just want to get your own thing. So you just want to get it your own way or something. You just want to. And but Hatthaka was just like, no, I am Sanghadhara. I was very tired by the meditation in the morning. I just said, guys, just, okay, you Hatthaka, maybe it will take a while. I guess I wanted to resolve everything in a night. So, so I said, Hatthaka, just, okay, you stay on this side, and Sanghadhara, you sit here. And, just give me a break. It's just kind of. And it just felt like, rather than kind of pushing that aside, it just felt like it started to covering the other half of the heart with another precious metal, like copper, rose copper thing. And it just felt like actually they started to reflect in each other. Actually, there was a lot of, very soon after just leaving that battle, it just became like they were both two sides of one coin. There were two faces of the very same thing. So that's what I wanted to talk about a bit. So yeah, basically I just by this, it became clear, I became convinced that it was thanks to Hatthaka and the focus that's given me that Sanghadhara came into existence. And not only that the fact that Sanghadhara appeared, it felt like then kind of Hatthaka had a body to live on and to be kind of live up. So now I'll talk about the two sitting together. So one of the means of Dara. I remember the first time I heard someone, Arya Dara, when Madhugosha came back from his ordination retreat, a common friend, Arya Dara, when he was talking a lot about Dara, the meaning of Dara in his name, he was using a lot his hand. So that's something I remember a lot. And so the meaning of Dara is as well supporter, upholder of the Sangha. And actually, and I didn't know that until, because then the day after, I guess I started reading about Hatthaka. When it started to say we make sense, I was just like, okay, so who's this Hatthaka? So I just went to the library and I was reading the Pali Canon, and there's some great stuff there. And then in the Pali dictionary, I found that Hatha means hand. So that's a kind of nice coincidence, I thought. And one of the Hatthaka, when he says the Sanghahavastus to the Buddha, there's 4 Sanghahavastus. I think is generosity, gift, is kind speech, is beneficial activity, and exemplification. So just felt as well that by Hatthaka's life example, Hatthaka the Alabi appears sometimes in the context of being referred as an example for laymen. And one of the qualities that the Buddha rejoices about Hatthaka is that he's endowed with faith, he's virtuous, he's got a sense of moral shame and moral dread, he's learned, generous, wise, and has a few desires. So one of the meanings of that is upholder, which is kind of that could be by exemplification, which exemplification itself is one of the 4 Sanghahavastus. It just felt like the 4 Sanghahavastus and this list of qualities that Hatthaka the Alabi had. It just kind of gave me kind of clear idea of how to become more of a Sanghadhara, more of a upholder and supporter of the Sangha. The fact that he had a Sangha, he kept the Sangha healthy for when the Buddha would come back to. It just, so it just kind of it means like in the life of Hatthaka, there is tips, there is, gives me an idea of how I can become more of a Sanghadhara. I'm not having any of these I can grow more of these qualities. So it's a kind of, because then in the name it's just like, well, you're a supporter, upholder of the Sangha. And obviously you've got the whole of the Dharma to get on with it. But I suppose this Hatthaka just kind of giving me a bit more specialized focus, if you want. So Dara as well means, the holder of together. That's one of the things that on my private ordination said, is he who holds together, brings together. And Hatthaka with the 4 Sangha-vastus, he just brought together a Sangha and just kept it together. A very healthy Sangha. So he was an exemplar, exemplar lay disciple or a householder. And through being ethical, generous, learned and contented. And one of the meanings of Dara as well is knowing by heart. So one of the I love this as well, meaning of Dara, knowing by heart. So one of the qualities of Hatthaka then is he who has great faith. Apparently he died before the Buddha did, and then he came. He attained stream entry. He attained big insight. So he was reborn in heaven, and then came back to in a higher plane, and came to visit the Buddha. And the Buddha says, "Hello, how you doing? How's the heaven?" And he said, "Oh no, it's great." And the Buddha asks him, "Have you? Do you think much about the Dharma?" And he said, "Oh yeah, very much. So people still come and wants to hear about my stories and the Dharma that I learned from my time with you." And he says, "But it's one thing. There's 3 things I regret of not have done more of when I was alive, and this is spending more time with the Buddha, spending more time with the Dharma, and spending more time with the Sangha." So it's really close to his heart. He had a great faith, and even though he was there with the Buddha, had a Sangha and just attained insight, so had a big grasp on the Dharma, and still actually hold very. He said he regretted to not have done more of that. And as well, you could think about by knowing by heart of what that's kind of reflective. It's like to really know by heart the Sangha. If you think about not just you or like society, like really need to be empathic, really go beyond myself, really being aware of others, being aware of you, my Sangha. But as well, what about the Arya Sangha? And to really know by heart the Arya Sangha, I need to become one myself. So if you want, Sanghadhara has this whole levels of engagement with society, with Sangha, but at the same time with enlightenment. So you get a sense of what a name can be. Is things are already close to my heart and I've been doing, but at the same time there's far more that I can become with my name. It already says a lot, but it can, for me to embody fully Sanghadhara, because I need the help of not with the help of Hatthaka. This just I can become more fully Sanghadhara. When I mentioned, so I was really scared about. Well, for me, all these then make complete sense. I was just like, yeah, I'm just kind of Hatthaka Sanghadhara. That's kind of what I am. But obviously then the next scary thing was to tell my precept. Because obviously I was still the fear like, I might just kind of get a clever way of getting my way and keeping the name I want or something. I mean, one of the problematic things is I think I saw so much connection and richness of both of them together that, if my name would have been something completely different, then, that wouldn't kind of happen. But there's like so much between them. It really felt like they're 2 sides of one coin. And yeah, no, Sanghadhara is my order name. But when Kataraja asked me how did I find my name, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to tell him everything now. So I said everything that I just told you, and or a version of it. And he said, oh, it sounds like if Hatthaka would have ordained, if he would have joined the order, it would have been Sanghadhara. So it sounds like Sanghadhara is Hatthaka's order name. I was actually quite relieved that he wasn't like, oh, well, you know, well, now you've got a name now. Like he knew, even in the private ordination, he knew that I had something with the name Hatthaka, because before he gave me the name, he said, and the name I choose is Sanghadhara. But yeah, you know, it felt very much about that. I felt quite seen by him, seeing the connections with Hatthaka and Sanghadhara. And I guess that's part of what I wanted to say today. I wanted to share that today, because for me it's a very, you know, whether you think if you see my name Hatthaka around Sanghadhara, sometimes just the H, if you think that I'm just kind of attached to something, we're still, maybe it's healthy attachment, maybe it's just giving me inspiration. And I do see it like that. I do see it that it gives me more of a Sanghadhara. I really don't think it's me trying to get around with what I want. I think, yeah, no. Sometimes I do that, but you would know. But yeah, in here it seems like actually my motives. There's a lot of inspiration for me there. So yeah, and so I want to carry on this name. You know, that's as a reminder, as an inspiration of how to cultivate and how to grow more as a Sanghadhara. And yeah, and very much really for because it's something that I love. I see a lot of beauty in it. This is what I want to do with my life. This is what I do with my life, and I really hope that it's for the benefit of all beings. Yeah, thank you.